Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 620 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes& Noble today. And book number 7 is going to be out this week, so watch out for that. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, my wife just went to the movies with her girlfriends to watch F1 not too long ago, and she absolutely loved the movie. And I'm not sure if it's because it stars Brad Pitt or not. That could, roll into it. But she was very impressed with the precision and the efficiency of the pit crew in the Formula One teams while they are under tremendous pressure. And I think there's something to talk about there. We're going to talk about the high speed world of racing on today's show. So, our next guest, after 25 years of working in the high stakes, high speed world of NASCAR, IndyCar, and Formula One, Mike Mooney has seen firsthand how elite teams consistently outperform the competition, not because they have more talent, but because they execute brilliantly in the micro moments that others will overlook. That's the foundation of his work today, helping executives, leaders, students, and teams unlock championship level performance under pressure using a dynamic framework he has developed, and it's called Your Epic Pursuit. This framework empowers leaders and teams with the 4 essential keys that all high performers use, and you should too. Mike's keynotes, workshops, and coaching programs have helped companies like Frito Lay, US Bank, US Army, PepsiCo, and Advanced Auto Parts drive daily leadership habits that deliver measurable results. So if you're ready to equip your leaders and teams to show up strong, execute with precision, and thrive under pressure, you better connect with Mike Mooney today. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Michael, thank you so much for having me on and that wonderful intro. Thank you for that also. And more importantly, congratulations on 620 episodes. My goodness, man, that is amazing. That is amazing. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit of that with you. Thank
It's
you.
my pleasure. Really, I'm just creating this treasure trove of free content with some of the best speakers out in the industry. So that way, the undergraduate students can learn from that and then implement all of these lessons in their chapter. I'm basically creating what I needed as a chapter president way back when. So
So
I'm
good.
sure you certainly understand that. Well, let's get into it. I mean, you
Let's do
chose
it.
Elon University for your undergraduate experience. And by the way, if you haven't been to Elon University, that university is spectacular and it is sparkling and the buildings are beautiful. I mean, I'm just in awe walking around campus.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand that. I get that. But was
Right.
there other reasons why you chose Elon over others?
Yeah, I was at the time a kid from Long Island, New York, and this idea of not hunkering down in the winter and being down south was very attractive for one. But the second, I played baseball, and that was the reason I went down to Elon was to play baseball there. I was a pitcher, and that was my goal and my focus. The irony of it, though, is that. Within 3 weeks of being on campus, Michael, I blew out my arm.
Oh,
And, basically was told you're not going to pitch again. And it was a devastating time, but it was that time of when I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened to me. And the door that I expected to walk through was shut, more so slammed in my face. Um, it was really through fraternity and then student government that it opened up a whole new world to me. So, Elon was a phenomenal experience. And as you said, beautiful campus,
oh yeah.
hands down. Yeah.
It is stunning. And as a guy who lived in East Meadow, New York for 10 years, I will tell you that I certainly can appreciate wanting to get away from the winters
Right
on
on.
Long Island and get somewhere warmer down south. So I totally get that. And you joined Sigma Chi fraternity there. I'm wondering what
Did.
made you choose the guys at Sigma Chi over other fraternities on campus?
Yeah, and I wish I could say that it was like this one clear-cut reason. I'm thinking back to when I was 18 and joined, but I can tell you that what it was more so, a lot of people always look to the rush, experience of getting to know the brothers and all that. For me, I chose Sigma Chi primarily because I formed a relationship with some of the brothers ahead of time, like in classes or in different groups. And so I got to see and experience the fraternity outside of the chapter house and outside of chapter meetings and see these guys for who they were. And I thought they were just great, cool guys. And then when I started learning, oh wow, they're a SIG and they're a SIG and they're so then I started learning more about the organization. And I was just drawn to the idea of men of different temperaments and values and talents, right? So that really for me was a key part of that experience in choosing them based on the people, right? So I would say there is like don't underestimate for those who are active undergrads right now, don't ever underestimate the power of an interaction with someone who is not in your fraternity or sorority. It can totally change their perception and interest in your group.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great answer. And it goes back to the expression that we have in our industry, which is people join people. So,
Yeah.
you didn't join Sigma Chi because of the big parties. You didn't
Right.
join because David Letterman happens to be an alumnus. You joined Sigma
Right.
Chi because of the people, because you had a
100%.
relationship with people on campus that you liked hanging out with.
That's
It's
right.
just that simple. And what I'm trying to convey to the undergraduates is, you don't have to throw huge parties and spend a lot of money in order to recruit the best kids on campus. What you
No,
need to do is start building relationships
that's right.
with those people, and
That's
and
right.
that is a conscious process. And obviously, Sigma Chi did that with you, and they were right on point. So
Yeah.
it worked out perfectly.
It
Really
it
good
did.
stuff. Now, you've had this incredible 25-year career in this high stakes world of NASCAR, IndyCar,
Yeah.
and Formula. I'm wondering, can you tell our audience how did that journey begin and what drew you into the motorsports industry?
Yeah, again, Michael, I wish that there was again I had this plan. I had this vision, I knew from when I was 6 years old, no, there was none of that. It was none of that. It really, I had always been passionate about team sports, having played baseball.
Mhm.
I was a communications major. So communicating, connecting people to stories and ideas, bringing them closer to something, educating them, things that I was passionate about. And I happened to get a job out of Elon at a public relations agency in Charlotte, North Carolina, that happened to be in a motorsports focused. They were working in all of those areas. And I got an early start of really having a love for the business. I would never have considered myself a fan, and I don't consider myself a fan of the sport. I'm a fan of the business of the sport. And that's really how I got my start. I was, literally like changing air filters, running the mail every day, stocking the warehouse, stuffing press kits, helping, just doing like all the grunt work, at the very beginning to learn and then find opportunities to grow skills to get into it from there. So really it started at a very basic, simple, entry level place, and it was really just a consistent, how can I say, like over time just continuing to do good work, right? And that's not with ego. I had a very strong work ethic. I wanted to make sure I treated people well. I wanted to make sure I was very focused on relationship and serving. And that just led into some incredible experiences that went beyond the mailroom, all the way up to working for brands, for race teams themselves, managing, $75 million sponsorship portfolios. I mean, it just unfolded into an incredible world of experience that I could never have imagined, man.
Mm.
You know?
We should talk about that climb because I think a lot
Yep.
of undergraduate students who are listening right now, many times, and I know I did this myself to a certain degree. I remember when I graduated with an accounting degree from the University at Buffalo, I just figured I've earned it, and now I need to go out and buy this brand new Ford Mustang GT right out of the showroom because that's what successful people do.
Of
And
course they do.
right, of
Yes.
course they do. I earn
Right.
this, right?
Yes.
And I immediately thought that I'm going to move into a six-figure salary. I'm going to have a C-level job. and I'm just going to go straight into, running a company. But it's not like that. I mean, you and
No.
I understand that. I mean, you started from assembling press kits early on in your career, all the way
Yep.
to senior VP at Roush Fenway Racing.
Mhm.
So what leadership lessons do you take from that climb of going from press kits to senior VP?
Yeah, I would say the one that really stuck with me the most, Michael, and this actually happened when I was in running the stock room at this agency, and this gentleman came in one day, and he's looking around saying, "You got a really good organized space here. Is this what you want to do in your career?" And I said, "No, it's not." I said, "I want to." Yeah, I want to be inside, pitching the stories, writing the stories, going to the track, having clients. And he said, okay, well, let me share a thought with you. He said, if you focus on today and the work you have in front of you with excellence and precision, the opportunities for your growth are going to accelerate beyond your expectation. I'm like, okay, well, thank you, Yoda. I appreciate that, And later on in the day, Michael, I asked our agency owner, I said, hey, this guy, I recounted the story and I explained the guy, I said, I don't know who he is. And the owner said, okay, well, let me give you a little insight as to why that's important. And now for your listeners, this company isn't going to mean anything, but they can look it up on chat or Perplexity and they'll learn. But it turns out, Michael, and you'll understand this one. The gentleman was a new client of ours that we hadn't announced yet. He was in for a meeting, and it turns out that he was the chairman and CEO of Sears Roebuck,
Oh, wow.
right? So you think about Sears Roebuck in the day. This was the chairman and CEO, and the owner said to me, the reason why that mattered to him of working with focus of what you have in front of you is he started for Sears working on the docks in Chicago, unloading merchandise off the ships, and worked his way all the way up. And the point in what I believe he was sharing with me is that too often, Michael, when we're starting out on the rungs of the ladder, we take our eyes off of that rung with our hand right in front of us in search of that next rung and looking up. And when we're doing that, we're taking our eye off of what is really important, which is what we're doing in that moment of now, and not sitting there fixating ourselves on the next. And that, honestly, I took that lesson all the way through my career to where, and I don't say this with ego, it's just, it was how things worked out, is I've only interviewed for one job. And that was that first job. Every other one, I was recruited to come and work for other people because of the reputation I built, right, for working on what was here in front of me. And I think that's an important lesson, especially today, as there's a lot of distraction out there, a lot of things on social media where people are making things look better than they are in reality. And we can get sucked into that. And maybe you've seen that yourself in the conversations you've had.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to focus on the here and now. I think people are either too focused on the past and what has happened to them, or, where they want to go in life, but they lose sight of what's right here in front of them, the opportunity that they're working on right now to hit
Yeah,
the ball out of the ballpark right here, right today.
that's
And then
it.
the rest is going to take care of itself, right?
It,
I
it,
mean, if
it
you
it
do a
will.
good job, people are going to seek you out.
People are going to see that. People are going
Yeah.
to recognize it. You're
Yeah.
building a reputation for that, and that's powerful. And then I would say the other one, Michael, that I really leaned into and I still do today is serve without expectation, right? How often do we often do things for others with the expectation of what we think is going to happen or what we think we're going to get back or what have you? And I don't know about you, but for me, 9 times out of 10, when I attach an expectation to something, I'm often let down because it didn't play out the way I thought it would. And now I take that negativity or that frustration and it's just not healthy. But I've found that if I serve and help and give, without the expectation, just because it's the right thing to do, or it's an opportunity to grow, or what have you, build a relationship. I've just found that what you get in return oftentimes blows away what any expectation I could have attached to,
Yeah.
whatever that was.
What Mike is talking about is really karma, right? I mean, if you just freely give and you freely help people, then the world
Yeah,
is going to find a way to reward you for that. And so the person who helps you is not necessarily the person you helped. You
yeah,
gotta like understand that clearly.
yeah,
And karma is real. And I've made a career of it myself, just helping
yeah,
other people freely. I don't expect anything in return. I mean, we're talking about 620 episodes of the podcast. I don't
yeah.
expect anything from it. I don't make any money from it. I'm just
Right.
freely helping people. And when I put that out there, then
Yeah.
suddenly the world rewards me for that in
Thousand
ways
percent.
that I never really expected. So,
Yeah.
just got to
Yeah.
trust in that.
Yeah.
We should talk about your book and we should talk about values a little bit. Obviously,
Sure.
Sigma Chi has some very real values that are attached to it that all the
Hmm.
brothers assume when they
Yeah.
join the organization at the
Yeah.
altar. Your book is called Reputation Shift, and it
Yeah.
focuses on proactively building and strengthening reputation through a values-driven foundation. So I'm wondering what inspired you to write the book, and what does
Mhm.
a reputation shift actually look like in action?
Yeah, I thank you for asking that. That really has been a passion of mine. And within motorsports, a lot of my work had been connecting dots of like when a sponsor comes in with 30, 50, $100 million and said, well, how do we make motorsports work for us? That was a lot of my job, was helping them connect all of those dots to bring programs to life. The other work that I did for many years was in crisis management, reputation repair and rehab. So, having managed many, I mean, unfortunately, like driver deaths, fan injuries, or drivers saying knucklehead things on national TV, right? I mean, things that impact reputation, especially in a sport where affiliation matters so much.
Mhm.
I think you think about that, like one person's conduct or their words will affect those that are in whom they're affiliated with. And in motorsports, these are brands that are paying tens of millions of dollars. So it is incredibly it's vital. So after years, Michael, of seeing reputation being handled as a what now, very reactive instead of proactive, what if and how could, I decided to write a book on that, which was trying to shift the thinking and the perspective for you and I, for individuals, of how do we protect and build and strengthen, yeah, that great asset that can either open a door or shut it without
Mhm.
us even knowing that our reputation had anything to do with it.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly can appreciate that because I
Yeah.
understand why reputation is so important. But
Yep.
how do you define reputation capital? And why do you think
Yeah.
our listeners, fraternity and sorority college students, why
Yeah.
should they be thinking about their reputation capital in today's digital age?
Yeah. So when I think about reputation and reputational capital, when people say like, okay, so what is a reputation? And you get all kinds of definitions out there. Mine is simple, and it's this: your reputation speaks for you when you aren't there to speak for yourself. So what is it saying? And more often than not, people and college students, they're not thinking of that because they're living in a different here and now of just I'm acting and acting. And yet the impact of the actions, it's that ripple effect. It's the what happens after that really matters, especially for undergrads related to their reputation. So why does that matter today? Well, some very simple reasons are you're going to want probably letters of recommendation from advisors or teachers at some point as you're getting ready to graduate. Do you think that a professor, oh goodness, even going up to provost, the president, that they're going to want to write a letter of recommendation for a student that, you know, didn't go to class, wasn't engaged, had poor grades. You have to think about how all of these actions stack up over time. So
Mhm.
it is. I would say for college students today, it is incredibly important. And then you mentioned the digital age. We got to be mindful of the content that we're putting out into the world, and thinking about what story is that telling about us. And the challenge with social media, in my opinion and experience, is that social media is just showing like it's a mosaic look. It's not a very clear look. It's bits and pieces in posts. Yet, someone who doesn't know you is going to piece all of those things together and create their own picture.
Mhm.
So being mindful of the types of content that we're putting out there, and what is it truly saying about us? Is it what we want others saying?
Yeah. I mean, you've dealt with a lot of clients that have been in crisis mode and you've been
Hmm.
coaching them through that. So,
Yep.
from your perspective, what are some of the most common mistakes organizations will make when they're facing reputation damage or they're in a crisis? And how can today's college students avoid making those same mistakes?
Yeah, so it's a couple of things. I'll share just a few. One of them is is what I call operating without forward thought. So think about this. Are you a sports guy? Do you like
I
watching
am.
sports?
I
Okay,
am.
so if you're watching, say you're watching a football game,
Mhm.
and have you ever had this happen where a play goes down and you and your buddy have a different perspective on what happened? Foot was in bounds, foot was out of bounds,
Yeah, all the
you know,
time.
all the
All the
time.
time.
So there's this thing called the instant replay, right? And
Mhm.
what does the instant replay do for us, Michael, when
It
you're
gives us
watching the game?
various angles to look at a particular play to judge whether or not this was a legit play or it wasn't.
Or not. So it gives
Yeah.
us different perspectives, and it also slows down the play so we can
Yes.
see it more clearly.
Mhm.
So what often happens with, and this is one of the strategies that I have in my book, it's called, your instant replay, is before you're going to do something. I'm not talking about go to the store or go to the cafeteria, but before you make a big decision, whether it's sending an email or it's a conversation you're going to have or what have you. But I'd encourage undergrads, and this is what companies is alike. When I consult with them, is think about how would that look from the standpoint of employees, your key stakeholders, investors, the community, right? Think about how this could look to all the different groups of people that would be impacted or be exposed to this. And I guarantee that you're going to see it from a different way and go, oh, wow, okay, maybe I need to reword this. Maybe I need to rethink my approach because we often just sort of operate from a, well, I'm getting it out there and I'm doing it without recognizing the ramifications,
Hmm.
right? So the first is use your own instant replay before you make a big decision. The other one that I see companies get in trouble with more often than not, they don't own it. If you messed something up, if you made a mistake and it was a mistake, own it.
Yeah.
People they're willing to give people a second chance. They're willing to give you the benefit of the doubt if you own something right up front and right away. And I say as a student, I would do the same thing. If it's with a professor, if it's with your fraternity, whatever it is, if you made a mistake, you're human. You're human.
Yeah, I
Okay?
completely agree. I
Own it.
mean, people will forgive you more often than not, and especially in college, we
Yeah.
all make mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes as chapter president. I made a
Yeah.
ton of mistakes as the executive director of my national fraternity. I made mistakes, right? I
Right.
mean, we're human and we're just designed that way. But if you
Yeah.
own it, then we can get to the place that we need to be very quickly.
Very
But
quickly.
all too
Yeah.
often, I think it's that, wanting to be perfect all the time and never make a mistake. The
Yeah.
college students just won't own it. And I'm like,
Well,
just own it so we can move on. We just
yeah.
need to get past this.
Yeah, and it's so true. And what that does is it actually, when you own something, it
Mhm.
totally takes the wind out of the other person's sails who's ready
Yes.
to jump on whatever it is.
Right.
Because they're expecting people to deflect or say, no, it wasn't me or what have you. And then what happens when it actually comes to light? And then it's even worse on you. So if you own it from the beginning, and to own it, it's not just saying, please don't say my bad. That has to be one of the most cliched, worst used phrases that means nothing of any accountability. My bad. All
Yeah.
right, please. It's, you know what? Yes, I'm owning it. I'm owning it. Here's what happened. I thought X. I didn't think through Y. I decided to do Z, and I realize now that was totally the wrong way to go. And here's what I've learned. That's the key thing. If you can put in that, here's what I learned from what I did, people are going to say, okay, you get it. You're learning it. I'll give you that chance.
100%.
That's
Really well
powerful.
said.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
I love it. And you developed something called the Your Epic Pursuit Framework.
Mhm.
Can you break that down for us? What is that? And explain
Yeah.
how it applies to leadership, both on the track and also on a college campus.
Yeah, for sure. So your epic pursuit is really that framework is the culmination of almost 30 years in motorsports and the work that I've been doing for almost nearly a decade now with leaders and teams. And it's basically what I believe to be four timeless and essential keys to unlock new levels of performance that don't require us to put in more hours of work, learn new skills, sacrifice our health, sell our soul, whatever it might be to try to get ahead. And EPIC is the acronym for excellence, presence, intentionality, and curiosity. So if you look at high performers out there who seem to be like doing so well almost effortlessly, you'll see that they're using one, if not a number of these keys. And excellence, I'll break that down a little bit further for you. Excellence isn't just about like, I'm going to work with excellence today. It is for yourself, for your organization, defining like, what is excellence? What are the behaviors of excellence? What does excellence sound like in our words with each other? It's being very specific with what it is in our lives or to us. Is it continuous improvement, time management, relationship management, whatever that might be? And then there's presence, which is really being in the now and not distracted by the next. I mean, how many conversations do we have, Michael, where it seems like the person we're talking to has got like the bobblehead going, and you know that their head's somewhere else,
Right.
right? And that could be you or me, right? But what do we miss in those moments? We miss relationship. We miss opportunities to find ideas and innovations by being distracted. Intentionality in our words and our actions as well, right? It's recognizing that as leaders, we create what I call experience wakes. Think about a boat going through the water. The things that we say and do don't just impact one person around us, they carry and carry and carry. So by being intentional with how we choose to show up in our behavior and our words, we can change the outcome of experiences that we have with others and they have with us, which is powerful. And finally, curiosity, which is really about wisdom seeking and not ego stroking. I know it all. I've been there. I've done it. Um, this is really about bringing people into conversation, right? Asking questions to get to different levels of collaboration. So that's really what it looks like. And what I do is take teams and leaders through these exercises that really get us aligned on the behaviors and the expectations that we have of each other before we get to going and doing the work.
Man, that is great. I'd love to sit in on that. Gonna have to bring you in to speak to our team so that way we
That'd be
can go
great.
through the
I love it,
epic
man.
pursuit framework. I think it'd
Yeah,
be really, really fun.
love it.
So, we talked a little bit about failure and perfection.
Yeah,
I feel like today's college students are completely afraid of failure. And I think it's the wrong message,
yeah,
especially in college when there's not a high cost to failure at that point in their
yeah,
lives. So,
right.
how can students reframe failure so it becomes a part of their growth story
Yeah.
instead of something that defines them?
Yeah. So I look at this, and to me it's mindset and perspective as well as a willingness to fail. Like you said, college is one of the only environments that I can think of where the risk is so low to fail yet is so rich to learn. You think about that in work where they're paying you and oh, okay, failure may not be looked upon as so well, right? But in school, I would encourage undergrads to look at it through the perspective of have I been buried or have I been planted? And the analogy to that is simply that a seed can either have been buried or it could have been planted. And if it's buried, it's been covered up. That's one way, right? It's been overloaded. And how often we say, "Oh, I'm just buried. All this stuff's coming down on me. Oh man, I messed up again this time." And you start getting buried in almost the shame of the failure of what you think people are saying about you. It starts to weigh you down. You become buried. Yet being planted means that there's intention behind it. There's purpose behind it. There's some growth that will come from this. Yet that needs to be nurtured in the way that we look at it. So being planted is simply this, in my opinion, that if you have failed, the way that you reframe and reset that right away is to ask yourself the question, what am I supposed to learn here? What did I learn here? Because when we learn, we have not failed. And that might sound cliche, right? It sounds like one of those posters we'd have in our office. If you've learned, you haven't failed. Well, but it's true. It's true. If you can take a lesson from that knockdown, right? So for me, when I think about when I went to Elon and even like with my arm, now that I don't know if that's failure because my body, my arm gave out on me. Yet it didn't allow me to pursue something that was my passion and my dream. My lesson, though, was Mike, walk through that door and try something new. That was my lesson. Because that's how I got involved in student government and the SGA. And by the time I was a senior, I was president of the student body at Elon. I was in Sigma Chi. I had leadership positions in that as well. That would never have happened if I didn't take stock and ask can I learn from this? Right?
Very cool. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
All right, so we do love good food here, and I get the feeling that you've had a good meal or two. So I'm
as
wondering
a
the next time that I'm speaking in Charlotte, North Carolina, where should I be going in order to get a great meal?
Yeah, I would say, and this is it's just a personal favorite of mine and my wife's is a great restaurant in South Park called 131 Main,
Uh-huh.
and we are there pretty much. I think we pay their monthly power bill. We're there like every Thursday or Friday. I mean, it's great food. It's consistent, great food. The service over the top. You feel like you're friends from the moment you walk in, and it's just got a fantastic environment, man. So I think next time you're in Charlotte, you come here, you let me know, and we'll both go to 131. All
That
right?
sounds good. 131 it is. All right, sounds awesome.
Perfect.
So where
Perfect.
can our college student listeners pick up Reputation Shift and
Yeah.
also learn more about your program so they can bring you to campus as a speaker?
No, I love it. That would be great. So I'm going to make it really simple. So all you need to do is go to mikemooney.com. So it's Mike Mooney, Mooney.com. On there, you can find a way to get to my book, learn more about my speaking, and connect with me there. And you can also tap into and listen to my podcast called Your Epic Pursuit, where we talk to leaders about their journeys of leadership, the lessons they've learned and earned along the way. So go there, it'll be your one-stop shop.
That is perfect. Mike Mooney, thank you so much for all of this. I think this has been very, very helpful for our college students. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, Michael, thank you again. I appreciate the work you're doing in this world, especially now we got 620 done.
Yes.
Thank you for that opportunity. And again, the fact that you are investing in the next generation of leaders, especially through fraternities and sororities, is incredible and so well needed. So thank you for all you and your team are doing.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Mike Mooney, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other students in your fraternity, in your sorority, because they need to hear his words. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.